Right, we're going to start a little bit of a panel discussion, so start thinking of very clever questions, please. We will have microphones roaming through the audience, I hope. But to start us off, measurement is a team sport, as we've heard in pretty much every one of our presentations. What are some of the obstacles that we have to overcome to get to that point? I don't know who wants to go first. There's microphones on the tables.
Well, am I on? Can you hear me? Well, I worked at Arbitron, as I mentioned, and in the early 90s when we started the PPM, we required broadcasters to encode, and that was a fundamental sea change because it created a situation where the companies you were measuring could actually opt out of measurement and perhaps undermine the measurement. So the biggest challenge, I think, is to move forward in a context where the nature of the partnership requires that the media operators that you need to measure are unanimously willing to be measured. I think that's a tricky challenge.
I think measurement in itself isn't a real challenge because this is 2016 and with a bit of effort you can make anything happen technically. The challenge, as Josh pointed out and all the others, is integrating different data, making sense of lots of data. And if you talk about panels, I think the objective is perfect to have a core of single source panels where you get all the devices measured. The challenge is we see a declining willingness to participate in panels everywhere in the world. That's the main challenges.
Talking about this team sport, I think that the jig structure is a key component, a key structure. Mediametrie or all the jigs that presented this morning, Mariana, Escaro. We are structured where advertisers, agencies and media meet and to decide and vote the rules. And there's a know-how in the jigs on how to make everyone sit together and find a consensus. And I would say there's a second challenge is that in some countries, there are not only, and it has been mentioned this morning, there's not only one jig, there are many jig, one jig for TV and one jig by media. And so that's another challenge. Mediametrie in France was lucky to have TV and online and radio, but for this purpose, TV and online under one roof. But that's clearly one other challenge to have those two teams working together.
Yeah, maybe to comment on that, Julien, two comments. The one is collaboration with other media owners or jigs. In the Netherlands, we are together in one roof, the media house. We are not together, but we are living together. So it's very interesting. And I think if you have this dialogue and this approach, it's possible to build things, especially in terms of efficiency, because you have the single source, maybe for online video and digital, it may be also very important for print, for instance, to use it. Then again, on the other side, second comment is collaboration between measurement agencies. And I think this is not a challenge. We are very used to do that in the Netherlands. It is very important to have the logistics and the procedures in place. That I think it's the challenge.
I'd like to just make a comment on the collaboration that's happening between media owners and the JICs as well. Whilst JICs represent the entire industry, media owners are often going off like we are and doing our own things. I think media owners and any publishers out there have a sort of duty to pass on that their findings to their JIC. And this sort of accelerates the way that JICs can actually develop their measurement. And for example, one of the things that's being discussed now is using tags, can we pass demographic information that we know about our users, that's first-party information, pass that through the SDK tag for the census information, just in another source of actually improving the quality of the data that we're actually analyzing.
Great. Thank you, panel. Right, do we have questions from the audience? There's one right up here in the front.
Hello, Geneviève Petit from Petit Web in Paris. Mariana, you were talking about collaborating with Facebook. Don't you think that Facebook is the ultimate panel?
That's a good question. When I'm talking of collaborating with them, it's because they are collaborating already with the media owners for digital, and we are collaborating with them. So if they are open of this collaboration, it is. You have, I will say, first-party data, maybe not a panel, but first-party data, and I'm also open in this way to use it. But I still believe that a control panel could help both organizations. In terms of, with a control panel, you could also use this information to have really validation of correction of reach estimates, and I think this is also very useful for other organizations like Facebook. Yeah.
We mustn't lose sight as well on that of the fact that Facebook is it's a large data set, but it's not a representative data set. That's a trap that so many people potentially can fall into by thinking that big is better. The JICs and the skill of putting together a panel is the fact that it's a balanced and representative panel, and that is what makes it good. It's not necessarily the size. The size just increases the accuracy of delivery. Saying that though, Facebook is an enormous amount of information there. How it can be used is I'd like to understand that a bit more, but I wouldn't say one replaces the other.
Yeah, so I've thought about this a lot, Facebook in particular, and I would say this. So first of all, I'm going to preface this by saying, as any of you in the room who are Facebook friends with me know, and there are at least a dozen of you, I love Facebook, but every one of our customers, except for Facebook, competes with Facebook. And that's a very important point. I don't think our customers are going to be especially comfortable with an over-reliance on one of their competitors to be the driver of a measurement system. So what we do, so to be very candid here, so at comScore we use third-party demography from publisher partners in our VCE, our advertising measurement product. But we use it from multiple partners, and it is one of an input along with, with lots of other data, because we think it's of vital importance not to let the massive data set of one of the companies we are rating influence the ratings.
And last point, they don't have television ratings in it. So it might be a source for tracking cross-device measurement, but it's not a source for identifying the overlap of television with digital video.
Just one comment. In France, we are selling digital ad ratings, so I have a slightly different comment, although I understand and I'm in line with lots of what has been said. Digital ad ratings is using the Facebook data to publish campaign reports. It's not solely using Facebook data, and I would say what is very important, the representativity of the data has been mentioned. The data is calibrated using a panel. And I think that's one very important aspect that yesterday was mentioned. I think it was Kantar that mentioned that. I think that in this big data environment, of course, these data are essential, and there will be a vital source of information. But more than ever, we will need independent, neutral panel data that will help consolidate and merge all these data assets. So I think, yes, the Facebook data is great data. It's a great value, but it will not replace panels.
Sorry, guys, we're out of time. Please give a hand of applause to our panel.